Hello, I'm S.W. Anderson. Thank you for having me around the campfire. And I figured since this is a campfire, I would read part of a ghostly part, I guess, of my paranormal romance titled This Time. It's about reincarnation of past life soulmates. So this one is Elena and her best friend Marlie in Portland, August 17th, 2017. And Elena has been seeing this woman in her dreams for years and years, and she paints her a lot. And this is Marlie seeing her work. With each stroke of the brush, Marlie stood mesmerized by the confidence Elena exuded in her execution. The picture flowed out of her and poured onto the canvas as if she had painted it the very same picture a million times over. As Elena worked diligently, her image taking form, Marlie directed her attention to the row of finished work along the warehouse wall. One canvas after the next, she studied them, taking her time to admire the detailed strokes and the fine lines. But more than that, Marlie admired the subject. The woman with long, flowing dark hair was featured in each of the 12 paintings, some as a portrait and others more abstract. There she was, front and center, from a profile pose to a partial nude in every medium Elena used: black and white, color, oils, pencils, chalk, even stippling. The eyes, a brilliant blue, were a mesmerizing combination of bold and warm as they focused on her, though they held a touch of sadness and longing that made her want to weep. One piece stood out above all else, stirring Marlie's soul as the sea would a sailor, daring her to ignore its call. The dark-haired woman stood beside a river under a canvas of maple trees in simple blue jeans and a white t-shirt. Her bare feet were buried in lush green grass. The bright colors of autumn burst from the painting in such full detail that Marlie swore she was standing right in the middle of it, breathing in crisp air. As Marlie's eyes carried her toward the back of the scene, the color faded slowly, as did the focus, until there was nothing but bright light. Not yellow or orange like the sun, but a white light born of various shades to demonstrate rays stretching into the forest. The shift was almost painful, seeing the color stripped away. The woman, who was as equally defined in meticulous detail, wore an expression of love and hope, her hand outstretched toward the front edge, begging for it to be accepted. Blue eyes burned intensely, but were laced with a sadness that made Marlie want to grant her request. But the offer was not for her. From the bottom right corner, another finger, a woman's, reached inward, but did not touch. A hopeful union, a wish unfulfilled, a love denied. So many feelings on one canvas. Everything about it seemed to speak of the feelings Elena had described in her dreams. So close, but so infinitely far away. An ache pierced Marlie's chest, and she felt for her friend. She choked back the lump in her throat. She hadn't truly understood the depth of their conversations until now. Not haunting you, huh? Like I said, haunting would imply something bad. Elena set her brush down and walked to Marlie's side. She stared at the painting. Her head tipped left in examination, and then she said, "Nothing about this feels bad or scary." "She's beautiful," Marlie said. "She is." Elena smiled, one that beamed from the inside without control. "She drives me crazy every bit as much as she fuels my imagination." Marlie couldn't miss Elena's sudden glow of happiness, how she wished it would shine for someone real. "Looking at these drawings, I'd have to agree this work is very inspired. Some of your best." "Well, thank you. The gallery in Seattle called. They want me to do a show." "That's great, Elena." Marlie wrapped her in a tight congratulatory hug. "Yeah, thank you." Elena hugged her back, but then pulled away. Her weight shifted, giving away her discomfort. I was thinking. Her eyes roamed everywhere except Marlie. It might be time for a change. A brief moment of silence fell before Marlie hesitantly asked, "What do you mean?" "Possibly a move, or at least a long road trip after I set it up." Elena ducked her head but glanced up through her lashes as she awaited a response. A gasp fell out as Marlie's brows rose. "You're leaving me?" "Never." Elena smiled with sincerity and placed her hand on Marlie's arm. "But I have to find me. You know, I don't feel like I belong here." I may not feel any different anywhere else, but I gotta get out of here and find out. I understand. Marlie moved to pull her into another hug, this one lingering as if it would be the last time they would ever see one another. Her heart hurt at the thought of Elena leaving, but recognized her need to search out some semblance of sanity. Unfortunately, her efforts have been fruitless. I'll miss you like crazy, but you know I support you. Wherever you end up, I hope you find what you need. I'll always be here for you. Thanks, Marlie. Elena returned the embrace with just as much emotion. So, you haven't made any progress with, Marlie nudged her head toward the painting. The look on Elena's face said it all. They freed one another from their embrace and stared at the canvas. Not really. Elena took a deep breath and looked away as she continued. I've been doing the meditation as Grandma explained, and there was a time or two that I thought the dreams would be different. But ultimately, I'm still a crazy lady, she finished with a sad laugh. You're not crazy. Maybe she just meant to be your muse. Maybe. If so, she's doing a kick-ass job. She is. But she's also ruined me for other women. So it seems, but I'm 100% sure there's a real living, breathing muse out there for you, Elena. I wish I could be as sure as you. We've had this conversation before, and we'll probably have it again, but I am ever the optimist and a hopeless romantic. She's out there. Maybe in Seattle, maybe in a land you have yet to visit. Maybe you'll walk right into her on the street. It always happens when you're not trying, so just relax. Meditate if you want, but focus on your work. The gallery showing and moving. I promise if you focus on getting happy with the rest of your life, great things will happen. It'll all come together. Thank you, Marlie. You really are the best. I know, even she can't compete with me, Marlie said with great stoicism. Elena smiled. No one can. Let me clean up and we can go grab a bite. No rush. I'll be right here, and I think her and I need to have a conversation. Elena laughed out loud at the stern expression on Marlie's face, paired with the idea of her talking to a painting. Okay, don't be too hard on her, though. I wouldn't want to scare her away. She walked back to her canvas and picked up her brushes. Elena disappeared into the back room, and Marlie faced a woman in the forest. It was all very silly, of course, speaking to a painting. But if Grandma Mai believed that there was a real woman out there trying to find her way to her best friend, well then, it was worth a shot. You know, it's not right what you're doing to her. She paused as if a response were physically possible. Those blue eyes met her own without waver, almost intimidating in the power of their gaze. But Marlie would not be bullied, certainly not by an inanimate woman. Elena deserves to be happy, and you're keeping her from that. If you really love her, you'll either let her go or woman up and get your ass here so I don't have to find it and kick it. A swift breeze filled the room. A chill zipped down her spine as her hair jumped on end. Marlie's head spun on a swivel in search of its origin. There was none to be found. She was alone, not a single window or door open, yet the draft continued to bristle her skin. Impossible. Her head whipped back around, meeting the blue eyes of the painting once again. They were no longer hard. A light gloss covered them, and Marlie nearly expected a tear to fall. Sadness radiated from the woman born of oils and brushstrokes, and the colors dulled as if the very life of everything on the canvas was slowly draining into the other. Elena, the breeze whispered, sounding more like a question than a confirmation. At least, that's what Marlie swore she heard. Was that real? Should I answer back? Here it goes. Yes, Elena. Marlie stood tall and perched her hands on her hips. When it came to the spirit world, she didn't have a wisp of knowledge, but if this was her chance to make contact, she would speak her mind. Elena Jake of Portland, Oregon. So now you know where to be. I expect to meet you soon. Otherwise, let her go. It would hurt for a while, but at least she could move on. She could find happiness and love she deserves. A real one. This is so weird, God. I hope it works. Anyway, that's all I have to say. What about you? Anything you want to say? The breeze swept over her once more, and again she heard its wispy voice. Elena Jake, it whispered in her ear like a soft song in the summer night air. Then it was gone. I'm all set, Elena called out from the doorway, none the wiser. You ready? Marlie flinched at the sudden intrusion. She didn't answer right away. She couldn't. All she could do was stare at the painting. Had it all been her imagination? A minute was needed to process, and probably a bottle of wine. Did you two have a pleasant conversation? Elena asked, a smile dancing in her tone. Marlie jumped when Elena appeared by her side. The painting was just as it had been upon first sight, untouched, exploding with color, everything as it should be. But something was different about the stranger with the outstretched hand. Was that a hint of a smile? Yes, we did, Marlie replied, hoping her voice didn't reveal how rattled she was. You really love this painting, don't you? Elena leaned in, close, studying the face. She hadn't noticed the change. It's beautiful, Elena, and quite unique. Maybe I'll give it to you. No, definitely no. This is one I think you should keep. Thank you for listening to my reading of This Time. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the campfire readings.